How do we think ethically? How do we learn ethics? Is it something that can be taught? Is it something that can be taught at our current age? Let's explore. Socrates says ethics consists of knowing what we ought to do, and such knowledge can be taught. Most of us have probably been taught from an early age what we ought to do. And so the knowledge of the right thing to do is generally already seated in our character at this point in our lives. But if not, ethics can still be taught. Socrates does not put an age limit on when ethics teaching ends. Kohlberg says there are stages of moral thought. As a child, we defined right and wrong in terms of what the authorities say. Our parents or our parental figure, our school teachers, sometimes even older siblings. Someone defines for a child what is right and what is wrong, and the child obeys or disobeys the authority. In adolescence, right and wrong is often defined by our group, the friends we hang out with, the clubs we belong to, the school activities we're involved in, a gang. It's our group that defines our right and wrong during adolescence. As an adult, we view right and wrong from universal standards. As an adult, we have evolved to the point where we view right and wrong from universal standards: justice, human rights, human welfare. We have moved past the child and the adolescent stage of moral thought and into the adult view. It is not simply age that progresses us through the levels of moral thought. It is the education we receive that stimulates growth in this area. So what is ethics? Ethics is a well-based standard of right and wrong. It prescribes what humans ought to do when acting at their best. Well-based standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do when acting at their best. Remember that definition. It is not the same as feelings. It is not religion. It's not following the law. It's not following culturally accepted norms. It's not science. It is well-based standards of right and wrong that prescribe what humans ought to do when acting at their best. There are two fundamental problems when defining ethical behavior. One is, what do we base our ethical standards on? Is it the law? Well, then why isn't ethics following the law? Well, that brings us to number two. How do those standards get applied to specific situations we face? Our ethics says what is the right thing to do in this situation if we are acting at our best. And we can apply that to many situations. Every person, every entity, every business, community, every nation should have an ethical standard on which decisions are based. If you have not traveled to other countries or been part of other cultures, it's sometimes difficult to understand that the ethical standards we have are not necessarily adopted by other cultures. What is acceptable behavior in America may or may not be acceptable behavior in another country. We are in the individual decision-making unit of decision strategies, and when you're faced with a personal decision to make, consider all of the perspectives and choose which of the options is the right or the best thing for you to do. And then think, if you told someone you respect why you chose this option, what would that person say? If you told your parent, your grandparent, your spouse, if you told a friend, what would that person say about what you had just decided to do? If you had to explain your decision on television, would you be comfortable doing so? Imagine you are the person on the news conference, explaining the decision that you have just made. Are you squirming? Are you proud of it? Are you defiant? Are you sincere? These two questions will get you through a lot of ethical situations. If you tell someone you respect why you chose this option, what would that person say? And are you confident enough in the ethical rightness of your decision to explain it on television? Then once you implement your decision, you're not finished with your ethical process. Then you need to think, how did it turn out for all concerned? If you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? If we apply these two stages to our decision making, then ethical decision making is much more likely. Think about these steps before you implement the decision. Think about these steps after the decision has been made and implementation has already taken place. Here are some questions you can ask yourself every day. Did I practice any virtues today? Remember, we had a list of virtues. That is not just for week 2. That applies to the rest of this class, the rest of our lives. Did I practice any virtues today? Which ones were they? Accountability, compassion, justice? Did I practice any virtues today? Did I do more harm than good today? Did I treat people with dignity and respect today? Was I fair and just today? Was my community better because I was in it today? I think if we asked ourselves these 5 questions before we went to bed each night, we would begin to model our behavior after these 5 questions before we make decisions. Take a minute right now and think. You may be watching this in the morning or in the evening or in the middle of the day, but just think on the recent 24-hour period. Did you practice any virtue? Which ones? It's easy to just say, oh yes, I was virtuous. Which ones? Get out that list. Identify which virtues did you practice in the last 24 hours. Did I do more harm than good today? Did I treat people with dignity and respect today? I accomplish a lot of things. I am a prioritizer. And so if I have a list of things in my head that I need to do and someone asks me to do something, I immediately think, what can shift down a little bit and still get done, but so I can work in this item they have asked me to do. Because of that, my time is very important to me. The difference between my husband and I when checking out at Walmart is evident. He's chatty. He tries to use the clerk's name at the register. You look tired, Deborah. Is your shift almost done? Whoa, Deborah, they put you in a cold place today, didn't they? Small talk. I'm in a hurry. I want to check out. I'm sorry this doesn't have a price on it. That's not my fault. Never mind, I won't buy it. I just want Deborah to do her job, get me out of here. I'm going to pay a fortune. I have just shopped myself, picked up items myself, put them in my cart myself, often checked them out myself, bagged them myself, and now I have to carry them to my car myself. And in that situation, I don't generally feel I need to effusively thank people for helping me because frankly, no one did. And yet I'm passing people in the aisle that are just as busy as I am, that want to get through their Walmart experience just as quickly as I do, that may be in a different financial position, a different emotional position, greater responsibilities to others than perhaps I have. Could I smile? Can I not be frustrated if our carts meet in the aisle and we're trying to figure out who passes who? Did I treat people with dignity and respect today? I don't try to purposely not treat people with dignity and respect. But do I go out of my way to show those to people I meet casually? It's possible, and I'm getting better, but I need conscious effort on my part to do that as part of my daily life. Were you fair and just today in your thoughts, in your actions? Was your community a better place because you were in it? Sometimes that's a difficult one. We're often thinking of ourselves and how individually we are affected. Was your community a better place today because you were part of it? 5 questions that may change some daily behaviors. Jackson Brown says, our character is what we do when we think no one is looking. Our character is what we do when we think no one is looking. And George Boardman said, if you sow an act, you reap a habit. If you sow a habit, you reap a character. If you sow a character, you reap a destiny. You can change. You can change your character. Start with a single act. Repeat that act, it becomes a habit. Repeat that habit, it becomes part of your character. And who knows how influential your character may be on others as you go through life. Ethics It's not something to study and forget. It's something to embrace. We often think we act ethically because we don't commit major crimes or even small crimes. But not committing crimes is not the highest definition of ethics. Review this lecture. Consider an area of your character that you can improve ethically.